Good morning and welcome to the Clay County Development Corporation's fourth quarter luncheon presentation for 2021. We are so grateful for you all for taking time out of your very busy schedules to be with us here today in support of our community, to be part of solutions, and to support economic development. We appreciate you being here with us today for this very important conversation. I find it very hard to believe, but this is the first time we have all been together in this format in 2 years. It is great to see everyone and to be here with you all today. I'm Laura Pavlis. I'm the interim president of Clay County Economic Development Corporation. As many of you know, J.J. Harris has stepped down and returned home to care for family matters. We are very grateful for his tenure and we wish him all the best. We have a very full and informative session today. We are grateful to Dr. Parrish of the Florida Chamber Foundation for traveling over to be with us here today. We are also looking forward to hearing from Michaela Buchanan of the Clay Education Foundation and Dr. Anna Liebisch of the Jacks USA Partnership. I'd like to thank our event sponsors for making today possible. Our title sponsor is Arco Design Build, and our facility sponsors are St. John's River State College and Thrasher Horn Conference Center. Thank you, sponsors, for making this event possible with your generous support. Now we would like to recognize and thank our elected officials for joining us here today. You all make the tough calls, and we're so grateful for your leadership. If you are an elected official or represent an elected official, could you please rise so that we may recognize you and thank you for your dedication, leadership, and service. Thank you all. Today we're here to have an important conversation about our workforce. Educators, you all provide the critical foundation for every student that passes through our schools. What a monumental task you achieve with each passing year. If you are in the education arena in any way, whether that is as an educator or through leadership or in a support role, would you mind standing up so that we can recognize you and thank you? We are truly grateful for all that you do for our community. And now I'd like to call forward John Cantrell to lead the Pledge of Allegiance and offer our invocation.
How's everybody doing today? Doing okay? Let's stand and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this gathering today, Father, for each one of us. We pray for our families, for our businesses, for our community, the growth of this community, jobs, dear God. All these things are important to us. We ask that you'll bless this food to our bodies, nourish us and strengthen us. We ask in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
If you will, please begin enjoying your salad or your cheesecake, whichever makes you happiest. No judgment. We'd like to thank Executive Food Services for their hospitality and service today. Today's lunch will be served at your table to accommodate our robust presentation schedule. Please enjoy. Arco Design Build is a leader in the industrial construction industry with hundreds of associates across the nation and offices in all major markets. Arco offers the strength, presence, and resources of a $3.5 billion national builder with the responsiveness of a local company. It is now my pleasure to call forward and introduce Dan Croft of our title sponsor, Arco Design Build.
Hey, good afternoon. Like Laura said, I'm Dan Crawford with Arco Design Build and Vice President here in Jacksonville, run our operations. I won't drone on about us. We're not here to talk about the contractor that put his name on the board. But quick snippet, we're a national design build contractor, as our name would suggest, specializing in warehouse, distribution centers, cold storage, multifamily, self-storage, so a wide range of product that we offer. We've got just a quick little video up here because I'm a picture guy. It works better for me when I see stuff, so maybe it does for you guys also, highlighting some of the work that we've done across the country that you can take a look at. right, short and sweet, right? So again, just thank you guys. We're happy to be here. We're new members to the Clay EDC. We're happy to be here supporting the local economy. As everybody knows, there's a lot of good stuff that's going to be happening here in Clay County. We're hoping we can be a big part of that and the growth here in the county. So if there's anything we can do for you guys, reach out to me. We'll leave some cards. Craig Callahan, he's our business development director. So you can find him. He's really tall, easy to spot. So thank you guys and enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you, Dan. We appreciate your support and partnership tremendously. In September of 2021, Clay County's unemployment rate was down to 3.3%. Our labor force consists of 113,896 workers, and that translates to 110,106 employed residents. That is absolutely considered full employment. It is a tight labor market out there for sure. Clay County ranked number 7 in the state for lowest unemployment in September amongst all 67 counties. The Jacksonville Msa unemployment rate was 3.7% for September, with a labor force of 834,734. Florida's average unemployment rate stood at 4.9%. Finally, median home prices were $295,500 in September in Clay County. That's a 23.1% year-over-year change. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first presenter, Michaela Buchanan. Michaela Buchanan is the Chief Executive for the Clay Foundation, a nonprofit that works directly with our educators and administration to improve public education in Clay County and ensure all students have opportunities to compete and be successful in the 21st century workforce. Before joining the foundation, Michaela worked as the VP of State Affairs for Wexford Strategies and Deputy State Director in Florida, Georgia for HBW Resources, and has served on a number of federal and statewide political campaigns. In addition to leading the foundation, Michaela is active in the community, serving on the Board of Trustees for St. John's River State College, the YMCA of Northeast Florida, Clay Chamber Women's Empowerment Council, and Clay Safety Net Alliance. Please join me in welcoming Michaela Buchanan.
Good afternoon. It's so exciting to be here in person. I was sharing that this is my first in-person event since COVID and the birth of my daughter, who's now 2.5 months old. So this will be a lot of fun, I think. The Clay Education Foundation, you know, we are a deep partner with the school district, and we're very proud to support the success that we've seen in the last year, right? Where Clay County School Districts ranks number 9 in the state of Florida. So we're doing some really special things right here in our community. But as my dad would always tell us, right, when I was on the ball field, you're either getting better or you're getting worse, right? There's no time to be complacent. There's always someone coming after you, right, for your spot. And so my conversation here today is really to offer a solution and continue pressing forward. So our challenge here locally, you know, nationwide STEM careers, jobs that are in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, they're expected to continue their above average growth, right? So we're expecting 3 times faster than all occupations, which is going to represent about 500,000 jobs within the next decade. What are we doing to get our kids ready for those open jobs? Computer occupations alone will represent 2/3 of all the STEM jobs that will be created, right? So those are your folks who are in network administration, computer science, web development, database administrators. So we really need to be focused on what we're doing here in the K-12 system, pressing into our higher education, and that will ultimately lead to our workforce filling those gaps in the labor. So how are we doing in Florida? Well, just 33% of Florida high schools even offer a foundational computer science class. In Clay County, we have about 1,700 students who take computer science. So we are doing a great job, but certainly there's always room for more students to be taking those really foundational classes if we want them to be the problem solvers, the critical thinkers, and those who can overcome adversity, which many employers are looking for, right? Those aren't unique to STEM careers, that's everywhere. Barriers to entry in STEM. Typically, Algebra 1 is a gatekeeper for students, which many students will take this in junior high school, but certainly you could take it in high school as well to stay on grade level. So how are we doing in those things? Well, in Clay County, science scores, we're doing great. We are number 6 in the state for science, but you can see not all students share in that success equally. So Clay County's total, you see that dark blue. Students who are from homes that are economically disadvantaged, you're going to see a gap of about 10%. It's not unique to Clay County. It's not that our teachers aren't doing a great job, and it certainly doesn't mean that there's not enough happening. But how do we fill that gap for them? What can we do to engage our students who maybe don't enjoy the current level of instruction that they're receiving? How do we get them hands-on? How do we give them real-world applications so not only will they achieve in science, but they'll be ready for the workforce? The same in math. So we're going to see in math that typically students, again, from those lower homes with poverty, they're not doing as well as our county average. Black students are not doing as well as our county average, with just 39% of black students in Clay County achieving a level 3+ in math across the district, compared to, you see, the 58.1% that our county does as a whole. So the difference between critics, right, and supporters is that critics typically just walk away after that slide and they just kind of let you guys know what's going on, but that's not why I'm here today. My parents are both educators in Clay, and I am very, very passionate about the school district, and we all know that we have some of the best schools in the state, as previously mentioned. But my job at the Clay Education Foundation is to continue providing support so that our schools maintain those statuses in the top 10. Our home values, all of those types of things remain high because of that. So how do we do it? In early and consistent exposure to STEM education. STEM education starting in kindergarten. We can introduce coding, robotics, when we're actually already doing this. We have 5 full-blown career pathways in STEM education targeted in the areas of cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and drone pathways in 5 of our junior high schools. There are 7 total. And then we picked one elementary school that was struggling in math and science that feeds into that junior high school. And we also provided them the K-6 information. So what are students doing in those classes? Well, you saw the student flying the drones, but they're also working with Raspberry Pis, and they're learning how to hack into network systems in school, real time, so that all students can experience that. It's not an after-school club. And our goal is that these things will push into the high schools, and that more students will take AP computer science classes, that more students will seek to be a STEM major, have STEM careers, and we've seen success in our programs. Last year when we piloted this very, very exciting initiative, we saw students achieve 20% growth in their math and science scores by the mid-year in the 2 schools that we piloted at, and now have expanded to 10. And we also saw that student interest in STEM majors and careers went up about 30% from the time that they started the school year to the end of the school year. So we have more students looking for these opportunities. And they cannot do that alone. Teacher content knowledge will be an issue for students if their teachers cannot teach computer science. And if you haven't guessed, our teachers did not really graduate with cybersecurity degrees. They probably would not be teachers if they had, right? So we give them the tools, we give them the curriculum, we give them all of the equipment that they actually need to take out and do these lessons in the school day with their students. And then we consistently provide technical support. We have many partners in this work, like WAS Education and STEM2 Hub. I think they're here today. So thank you very much for the support and the work that you do to improve the lives of our students daily. But the kicker, right, is that 65% of our kids will not work in jobs that we currently have. They don't exist yet. So really, our path forward, my offering of solution is not just through these career pathways, but if we can do more to provide hands-on internships here locally, if we can have more apprenticeship programs in these STEM pathways, in network administration, in those careers we know are coming, that are already here, not 20 years from now, right? We need to be doing everything we can to get our students ready. And if we're not, we're really, I would argue, doing them a disservice. So thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. Laura, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Michaela. That was very informative and thought-provoking. And now it is my pleasure to call Dr. Anna Liebisch forward. Most of you know Anna from her time with St. John's River State College. Welcome home. And she is also a former board member of the Clay EDC and served as the organization's second chairperson. Dr. Anna Liebisch has more than 20 years of experience as an educator, college administrator, and economic developer. Dr. Liebisch has been instrumental in paving the career paths for countless students and workforce members who are currently serving our Northeast Florida communities. She has been involved in developing more than 60 educational programs to answer the local workforce needs, partnering with Northeast Florida businesses, industries, colleges, and universities, as well as regional school districts. Dr. Liebisch holds a doctorate from the University of Florida and a master's and bachelor's degree from the University of Missouri. Am I allowed to tell them that you're also a welder? You might get some phone calls. She is currently the Senior Vice President for Strategy and Talent Development at the Jax USA Partnership. Anna is dedicated to serving the community in talent development and attraction, increasing the economic vitality of our communities and economic mobility of our citizens. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Anna Liebisch.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be back here today. It just seems like it's been forever since we've been in this room together, and this truly is like coming home to me. In fact, the commute here was really nice. I think it took me 8 minutes to get here from home, so I certainly missed that. And I miss being in this community on a regular basis, but so happy to be here today. Talking about what is very important, and that is talent. Many of you already know Jax USA, but Jax USA is the regional economic development organization, and our mission is to be a catalyst for economic growth and to maximize the region's unique resources to really aggressively recruit jobs and capital investment in our region. We are a 7-county partnership, with Clay County being a very important part of our partnership here in the region. And by working together for economic development advancement, the counties as a collective region have a greater opportunity to attract business and talent to the region, rather than compete with each other. When projects look at a location, they're looking at region first, and then they narrow down to location. This is a typical list of decision factors that you see commonly when companies are evaluating a region. But today, more than ever, workforce availability, skills, and cost are at the tip of the spear. Every project we are working today is focused on that factor from day one. Where is the talent? Talent is our new currency. As we identified in our Elevate Northeast Florida strategy, strengthening our region's talent ecosystem and fostering employer engagement opportunities throughout our region is of utmost importance. The regions that focus on talent, on how to develop it, align it, recruit it, and retain it, will build more of that needed talent currency and will win more opportunities for their communities. As such, Jax USA Partnership, working with our counties, serves as the backbone and convener for the Talent Advancement Network and Talent Advancement Partnership. The TAN, Talent Advancement Network, are decision makers such as you that we meet with on a quarterly basis to really look at what are the talent needs for our regions and understanding those needs from an employer perspective. The TAN identifies and develops strategies and key areas of interest to focus on. Projects to address these issues are then identified. One such example of this was the region came together working with Florida State College at Jacksonville and St. John's River State College here, and was able to work together in bringing a $3.6 million grant to this region to build fintech talent. As finance and technology intersect, the needs and demands in that area continue to grow. And we are becoming recognized as a fintech center region for the state. Talent development is key to building our talent currency. We've been engaging with all of our regional superintendents, along with their college presidents in the region, to really have in-depth conversations about talent gaps, program alignment to industry needs, and employer engagement. We've served as the backbone and convener of our 7 regional school districts, which meet on a quarterly basis through that Talent Advancement Partnership. This partnership includes representatives from all of the career and technical education departments in those counties. And so thankful for Alice and those guys, I see them sitting back there at the table, for the work that we do here in Clay County. Throughout the region, there are nearly 220 career academies and career and technical education programs in high schools. And activities and classes that supplement CTE are extremely important as well, in the middle school and even in the elementary school, as Michaela was talking about. Many of these programs exist here in Clay County, but many more are needed. You've heard me mention alignment. One of the things we learned during our community surveys as part of the strategic planning process throughout our region is that there was a lack of understanding of what our industries are and where our industries are growing. You see up there, those are our targeted industries that are continuing to grow significantly throughout this region. But there's a misalignment and there's a misunderstanding. Community members, students, parents don't know about these industries and how these industries are growing. As such, a Career Pathway initiative was launched through our talent development website, earnup.org. 2021 has been a year of campaigning to really build a collaborative around this work with our colleges, with our school districts, with our community-based organizations, and with our students. The whole goal is to create a broader collaborative of understanding of what our industries are and how our industries are growing. And we continue to grow this collaborative each day through presentations, professional development, and enhanced website content that includes things such as industry hype videos, industry career pathway reports, and educator resources, all focused on supporting these industries. To date, there's been over 10,000 hits on the website, over 109 presentations, including many here in this county, and over 2,200 people who've participated in that. And today, you are part of that campaign. When you get bored later, just pull up your phone and go to earnup.org so that you can learn more about what's happening in our industries in the region. Because if you're not talking to our youth of today about what's going to be happening tomorrow, then we're not preparing ourselves for the talent war that we have ahead. Finally, when it comes to talent, the other area that we focus is on talent recruitment. Recruitment is a key factor there. With the top school districts in our region, and one of the top 10 right here in Clay County, what happens every day is we lose some of the best and brightest students that we have because they go outside of our region to pursue post-secondary training or other careers. Equally important to us is recruiting them back to our area. Now, selfishly, I'm going to say I'm doing the same thing. Both my son and daughter have went outside the region to go to school. But every day I'm talking to them, or not every day, when they finally decide they want to talk to mom at this point, right? I'm talking to them about coming back home to the opportunities here. We are also one of the regions that is benefiting from in-migration. And we're actively marketing in our region. What you see up there is our external marketing website, findyourjacks.com. It's an award-winning website featuring the unique resources of this region, including the unique resources right here in Clay County, and why you should choose to come here to live, work, and play. So as you can see, Jacks USA is supporting many talent initiatives in this region, is partnering with the county and with individuals like you in this room. I have this saying, and few people have heard me say it, talent development is both a 5K and it's a marathon. Too often we focus just on the 5K, and that's getting the talent you need in your company today. Short term, quick, as fast as we can get them, we want them. But the reality is, if we're gonna win the war on talent, we have to start treating this like a marathon. A marathon requires commitment, and it requires endurance. And we need it both from our education sector and from our businesses in the room as well. We need all of us to partner together. And if you're not currently involved with an organization like Michaela's, or with the school district, or the college as a company, you need to become involved with them. You need to help us with this war on talent and be part of the solution. In a human capital economy, people are the key ingredient. Every student, every employee, every potential employee is valuable to maintaining and building our communities. So I'm so excited that we're having this talent conversation today. As you could probably tell, I'm a little bit passionate about it. Spent my entire life working in the talent sphere. But what's also exciting is what great opportunities we have here today. And I'm thrilled to be able to key off our keynote speaker here, Dr. Jerry Parrish. I've had the opportunity to hear Jerry on several different occasions, and I have to say, he's one of the best economists to listen to. He is the chief economist and the director of research for the Florida Chamber Foundation. And in that role, he is responsible for conducting in-depth analysis on the Florida economy and on solutions to help secure Florida's future. Dr. Parrish previously was the chief economist and the director of Center for Competitive Florida at Florida Tax Watch. Prior to that position, he served as the associate director of the Center for Economic Forecasting and Analysis at Florida State University, and has many years of experience in the private sector in management roles at international manufacturing companies. He is also an adjunct in the Master's in Applied Economics program at Florida State University, also training our future talent. He's earned a BS in Agricultural Business and Economics from Auburn, an MBA from Bellarmine University, an MS in Economics from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and a PhD in Economics from Auburn. He also regularly publishes research reports and articles on the Florida economy and Florida's competitiveness. But more than anything, he is a friend of Florida and a friend to Clay County. And I'm excited to see what he's going to share with you guys today. Dr. Parrish?
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate being here today. I love talking about workforce, and I love to get out and meet business people around the state and other folks as well. I appreciate Superintendent Brodsky being here, and I know his importance. I appreciate being at St. John's River College, State College. One of the things that maybe you know, but when I speak around the state, it's surprising to a lot of folks to tell them, when I tell them that our state colleges in the state of Florida are the #1 state college system in the entire country. And they have a super important role in solving this issue that we have right now. I'll just talk a little bit about what we do. I work for the Florida Chamber Foundation. We're a 501c3. All we do is research. My job literally is to get up every morning, think about Florida 2 to 30 years in the future, come up with solutions for issues that we have now and ones that we don't even have yet, but we're going to have. And when we find those solutions, we hand them downstairs to the Florida Chamber. And it's literally downstairs in our building. They do advocacy. They work with our legislators, they work with policymakers, try to get the right policies, in place for Florida's long term. We also have a political arm, and their job is to find the right people to run for statewide office. And those are the people that'll put Florida's long term in front of the short term. So our organization pieces work together, and we spend a lot of time doing research, a lot of time out there in the field. One of the things we did about 3 years ago was we went around to all 67 counties in Florida, and we engaged more than 10,000 people live in rooms just like this. And as far as we can tell, that had never been done before to that scale. And what came out of that was something that we do about once every 10 years, a report. It used to be called the Cornerstone Reports, if you're familiar with what we've done in the past. This one was called Florida 2030. And we call it our Florida 2030 Blueprint. And it literally was a privately funded, about $1.5 million project that we went around and engaged those people to find out what kind of Florida they wanted for their future. And out of our Florida 2030 project came 39 goals. And if you have goals, we have to keep score. So how do we keep score? We keep score with the Florida Scorecard. And if you're not familiar with that website, it's at thefloridascorecard.org. I know some of you in the back probably won't be able to see the slides here, so I've already sent them to Laura. She'll be able, if you don't mind, send them out as a PDF file. Our communications people get a little nervous when we send them out. Otherwise, we don't want people modifying, and so if you'll send them out as a PDF file, you'll be able to see it. But this is literally what the front page of the Florida Scorecard looks like. It's a free website to use. There's hundreds of thousands of pieces of data on this. And when I came to the Florida Chamber Foundation almost 7 years ago, my first job was to revamp the scorecard. They had one, but not a lot of people were using it. It really wasn't that user-friendly. So we created this little tile system, and all these little tiles you can see on them is the color scheme. If a piece of data is in green, it means we're going the right way. If it's in red, it means we're going the wrong way. If it's a gray box, it's very likely to be one of the 39 goals that we had in our Florida 2030 project. You see 2 on the front page of the scorecard. One of them is to take Florida's under 18 poverty rate to below 10%. It's now 20.1%. That goal is to reduce it even further. Another goal on the front page there is to have 100% of Florida's kids reading at grade level in 3rd grade. And you may say, why does this business organization care about that metric? Well, what some of you know in the room, maybe all of you know, is 3rd grade is typically where kids go from learning to read to reading to learn. And so we track that for every school district in the state of Florida, and at the state level you can see we're down to 54%. It was 58% the year before. As you would expect during COVID, we did have a drop. Y'all scores are substantially higher, of course, than the state average. 63% now, compared to 68% last year. And that's a metric that I appreciate what Michaela and her group is doing, and I appreciate all our educators, because literally when I think about long-term economic development, it really boils down to 2 things. Teaching kids to learn how to read. Why? Kids that are comfortable in school stay in school. They're much more likely to graduate. They're much more likely to go on to further education. They stay out of trouble as well. If they're not scrambling around trying to figure out what to do with school and they end up hating it, they're a lot less likely to get in trouble. And that's half of the battle of breaking this cycle of generational poverty. The other is to help people get workforce skills, and that's what we're here to talk about today. But the scorecard will show you a couple things there. One, there's a Clay County page. And if you'll take a look, every single county has their own page. That little gray bar across the top is Florida's 6 pillars of the economy. The first one, talent, supply, and education. And it goes all the way down to quality of life. So even multiple more levels of data out there. And what we want people to do is use this. You can use the snipping tool and snip one of these tiles and send it to your local newspaper, send it to your county commission, send it to your city commissioners. Use it in our economic development agencies, and we make those available for everybody. Another feature of the Florida Scorecard is when I set it up, I wanted people to be able to contact us. And so my hope was we'd have an administrative person that was there to answer all your questions. So we put a little box on there that says contact us. Well, if you type a message into that contact us box, what you'll notice is I was out of town that week when we set this thing up, and they sent this to my email address. So you don't have to remember my name is Jerry, you don't have to remember where I work. If you type in a message on the Florida Scorecard, then it'll come directly to my inbox. And I'm always try to help. There's a lot of nonprofits that need data and use data. We've got data at all levels, and me or maybe one of my FSU grad students will be glad to help you with that. All right, let's talk about our labor force here. One of the things on the front page is open jobs. There's 520,100 open jobs right now in the state of Florida, and I wanted to show you the history. And I did want to tell you, if you click on that tile, you can download a chart, or what I did was download the raw data and make this chart out of that. So you can see over time. Remember, in Florida, from 2015 to early 2020, Florida was creating more than 1 out of every 11 jobs in this country. That is a big deal. Florida is about 5% of the U.S. economy. 1 in 20 jobs would have been average. We were producing more than 1 out of every 11. And there was only about, on average, 250,000 open jobs at any given time. Jobs were getting filled, but you can see what's happened then. Won't surprise anybody, a lot more open jobs right now, and has been since coming out of COVID. Now, we've created a bunch of jobs, but let's look at where we were before COVID and after. Here's the path. This is the non-farm job series. I'm not discriminating against farm jobs. I'm a farm boy, so I wouldn't do that. They're a lot more seasonal, though, and it adds a lot of volatility here. So we use this non-farm job series. You can see Florida had more than 9 million non-farm jobs before COVID. Now, you may hear that Florida had about 10 million people working before COVID. That's also true. This does not count self-employed folks. So that's one of the things. But you can see we lost nearly 1.3 million jobs in a couple of months. We have come back. We've recovered more than 1 million jobs, yet we're still behind the jobs right now. So we're in this situation. We have to prepare more for the future, and we have to get our education system right and training and align it with what we need. Yet we still are short a couple of 100,000 jobs. Oh, let's see here. Oh, I'm going to turn this thing off accidentally. Wow. But what's been interesting is the way the jobs have come back. I got interviewed by the Tampa Bay Times not long ago. Everybody was all upset. Florida ended our $300 a week extra bonus that people got on unemployment. We ended it a little earlier than the federal government did. And they were all asking me, why aren't those jobs being filled? And I said, listen. I said, we have to wait 3 or 4 months for the data to catch up, right? Because there's a lag. We don't get data for about a month, until the following month. And it takes people a little time to find jobs. So what happened in the month to month, you can see that, the big swings earlier in the year, big drops, more than 1.2 million just in April of last year. As we came back, we opened up the economy, got back about 500,000 jobs in the first couple of months. And when we've had varying success, last month we had what we thought was 15,500 jobs recovered. They actually revised that when they come out with the new numbers, so it actually was a little over 20,000. But this past month we had over 80,000 jobs return, and that's those people coming back into the workforce. And you'll see the governor's press announcement that we're growing jobs at 3 times the U.S. rate. What's important about last month's numbers is there were less than 200,000 jobs. There were 192,000 jobs recovered in America last year. More than 80,000 of those came to Florida. So we are on the way back, but what's interesting is the industries that are in. I don't know if you can see this in the back, but I will tell you, that 205,400 jobs that we have left to recover to get back to that pre-COVID level. On a net basis, about 84% of them are in leisure and hospitality. Probably not a surprise. We've lost tons of international visitors especially. So what's happened is it really has affected those areas that are much more dependent on international visitors. The domestic visitors are coming back. You see the words that TSA is having record and record. But what's happening here in Clay County is y'all actually have 3.1% more jobs than you did before COVID. I track every single county. This is from last month. 42 counties in Florida had more jobs than they did before COVID. And when you look at the heat map, the darker areas have the highest decrease since pre-COVID. And it's Miami-Dade, and it's Orange County, and it's the Orlando metro area. We went from 14.5 million international visitors a year to 4.5 million. So that's really where those things are coming from. And you can see we have 3 of our industries that have more jobs now before COVID. Construction just went over to positive when we got the job numbers last Friday. But it's also professional and business services as well, and finance and insurance, the financial activities. So we're on the way back. Everything but leisure and hospitality is within 2% of where we were before COVID. So now let's talk about where we should be going after that. All right, let's talk about our workforce. This is why we're here today. And I wanted to show you the cover of a report that we released earlier this summer. And this is something we've been working on. One of the things, I've been working as an economist for a long time. And one of the things that has always been fascinating to me is, who's winning the game and who's not. Who's doing well. Well, I've come down to think about it this way, and this is a little bit simplistic for somebody, but it's the way you have to think about it, I think, when you look at this. Think about people with college degrees. Businesses think about them. Everybody, wants their kid to go to college, seemingly, in some cases to the detriment of their kid. We know that. Some kids get through school halfway and then drop out. They've got a bunch of student debt. Really didn't do them a good service as far as sending them to college. But let's say in general that people with bachelor's degrees and higher can take care of themselves, right? There's more than 500,000 open jobs out here. And what have companies done, and I'm very critical of this, and I have to think about this. I've got an open job right now. So if you're a data visualization person or a research assistant, hey, I got a job for you if you're willing to move to Tallahassee. Speaking of moving to Tallahassee, I interviewed one of my grad students, a really bright young man, would have made a great person at the Florida Chamber. But think about what's happening in the job market right now. He said, I'll come in and interview if and only if this job I can work 100% remotely. I said, we only went home for like 6 or 8 weeks, at the chamber when the things were at the worst of the COVID. I said, that's all we could do to get home and do that. So that wasn't possible. Think about what that's doing, to the job market. But back to this, the kids who have a bachelor's degree and higher, businesses, I say, that are lazy. Now that's kind of harsh if you're a business person. I'm not trying to offend you, but I will tell you I'm pretty blunt. What have we used college degrees for in the past? If you're hiring somebody, having a college degree is kind of a signal that you can start something and finish it, right? So what? Your degree's in something that really doesn't relate to our business. At least that's a signal that you can start and finish something, and perhaps you're trainable. It depends on who you are, absolutely. But it's something that we've done kind of as a lazy thing, or just a signal, just maybe part of it. And back to my job opening, I had to think about that. Do I care if somebody has a degree? No. So I posted a job, could be the first one we've ever done at the chamber, I don't know. But I specifically had no educational requirement. And why? And that's because I study the labor market. And when I studied it during this, you may remember a couple of years ago, we came up with a project. We got some generous funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is cool. If you're a researcher, that is cool to get a Gates grant. There's two things you have to know. One is you cannot tell anyone if you've got a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation grant until they see the final product. And let me tell you, they're not editing it, they want the truth. And that's a good situation for me because I like to tell it just like it is. But, they want to see the final product to see if it meets the right, level of research and all that stuff before you can tell people you got a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation grant. But that report was called Florida Jobs 2030. It was a part of our Florida 2030 blueprint. And what that was about was we picked 5 industries in the state of Florida that were going to grow and provide opportunities not just for people with bachelor's degrees, for people with high school degrees and certifications and associate's degrees, because that's really where Florida needed to develop economic development-wise. One of the things you have to think about is getting someone into the workforce has a much higher economic development payoff in form of tax revenue at the state, city, county levels than taking somebody who's already got a good job and getting them a little extra salary. It's a big, big deal. So we concentrated on those folks. And it was things like trade and logistics and manufacturing and, some forms of healthcare, those kind of things. And it really laid out the opportunities for our state colleges. Now, this is back when Chancellor Pomariega was the chancellor of the system. She adopted that report, which was cool. And so I thought, hey, this is cool. Working, doing stuff with the Gates Foundation. I've finally got someone to adopt an entire project of what I'm doing at the state level. So I was thinking, hey, this is pretty cool. Now, we've come a little further since then, and the job market has changed. So what I wanted to do in this report was think about what Florida needs. In the old days, economists used to forecast by industry. The manufacturing industry needs X number of people, and the leisure and hospitality industry needs X number of people, and we need, so many people in this industry. Well, then we all figured out that, wow, there's people like accountants, and there's accountants in every industry. So why don't we start forecasting by occupation? That's pretty cool. It's still a valid way to do things. And you see a lot of reports out there. We do that. But, occupation is great for a kid that's coming out of high school. Maybe you're working with your guidance counselor, your parents, trying to figure out what you want to do for a living. And you see all this supply and demand stuff. It's like, wow, elevator repairmen are going to be making, $120,000, which is true. I mean, that's actually big dollars in that. And, things like cybersecurity and, CNC machining and all these things. We can identify those things. And that's pretty good if you're coming out of school thinking about your first job or what your career is going to be. What about those people that have already been in the workforce? And so we talked to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation again and said, hey, we want to do something geared toward adult workers. Maybe you were a server, you got out of high school, you've been working at this restaurant, making good money, tourists are coming in, they're coming in for the Jaguars football games, you're getting some big tips, but you're working these crazy hours. There's no way you could go to school because you're on some swing shift. What do we do for those folks? What do we do for those people that got put out of work because of COVID? Companies shut down. You know that. A lot of them never came back, especially small businesses. We had the biggest impact to small business with this event, the COVID event that we ever had. Remember, 60% of all net new jobs in the state of Florida are created by businesses with less than 100 employees. So, wow, that's really hurt us for job creation in the future, right? We know there's other businesses coming in, but they've got to get started, they've got to get running, they've got to get scaled up. That will actually cost Florida as much as anything that's happened in COVID. But what we wanted to do is take those folks who had some skills, figure out what 1 or 2 or 3 skills they need to transition into an industry that is growing and paying high wages. So what have we got here? We've got an oversupply of people in leisure and hospitality, right? Absolutely. We've got an oversupply of people in retail. What are those growing things that, what the industries that are growing that we can help them get that skill? That's exactly what this report is about. And I appreciate them doing this. It was very timely because what came out of it was the first look at the skills level. Nobody's doing that. This comes out with what skills we need. What I think is going to happen, St. John's River State College and other state colleges around there are going to start producing more certifications in skills. That's what the market demands. I'm trying to break every business person's arm and make them not think that every kid has to have a college degree before they can work at their firm. You don't have to work for me. And really, that's been a tough thing. It's a really tough on people's parents. They want their kids to go to college. Maybe they were, the parents were successful, they thought, because they went to college. Remember what your probability, and I say this all the time, and educators cringe when I say this. And I'm an educator, and I kid my grad students. My grad students, if you're an undergrad in economics coming out of FSU, you can probably make about $40,000 a year. Now, when I graduated from college, if I could have made that kind of money, it would have blown my mind. My average salary when I got out was about $16,000 a year. So anyway, these kids go to 1-year master's program that I teach in. They learn a lot of quantitative skills. They're worth about $60,000 or $65,000 after 1 year investment in education and putting up with me for a year. Maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not for them. But at least they get some more compensation. I sit them down and I tell them, listen, I can hire 3 of you for the same rate that I pay 1 electrician to come out to my house. $100 an hour, I can buy 3 master's level economics kids. By the way, my electrician charges me drive time too. So he's not even working. He's just driving out to my house, and I live out in the country. And it really forces them to think. And what I think about it this way is if we took all those people that had trades and we got them a little bit of business skills, so maybe they want to open their own business, maybe they don't. That's a much higher probability of becoming a millionaire if you've got a trade and a little business training than it is for some master's level in economics kid. The market rewards people with skills. The market really rewards people with skills that are in short supply, right? So we've done a lot of work. I'm glad to show it to you. We've done it at the state level. What you see is these gaps. And you won't be able to see this up here, but what I want to talk about the gaps is, this is supply and demand over the next 4 years for the state of Florida. And what are the skills that we need? It's really a guide to our state colleges, our university system, our adult educators, that these are the skills that are going to be in demand. Why do you not do it more than 4 years in the future? Listen, I'm an economist. If you forecast much over a year in the future, you're just throwing darts at the wall. So we're doing the best we can. We know this is going to change every year. We know it's going to happen, but this is the guide for the skills that we need. One of the biggest things we need is employability skills. And what is that? Some people call them soft skills, but remember, it's a lot easier to take somebody with good employability skills and help them get a technical skill than it is to take some tech person and try to teach them to be nice to people. Come on. I got a brother that's an engineer. This is living proof here. But it's those skills you learn as, on your first job. Thank goodness there's people willing to hire people that don't have experience because they learn how to be an employee. Show up for work on time is a great skill to have. Working as a team, communicating, solving problems. Those are the basic skills that we can teach anyone. And then as new skill needs come up in the future, that's what this is absolutely trying to identify here. Now, one of the things we also show in here is the most probable transition from job to job. it takes people, in this case, it's a restaurant worker, I believe, and it shows in terms of probability, what's their highest probability of their next job. And what this does is this goes through and, scrapes people's resumes and their backgrounds off of LinkedIn and those kind of places to show where the most probable next job is going to be. That's in there. What I really like about this is, remember in Florida Jobs 2030, we were keying on those people that have high school degrees and certifications, associate's degrees. These are the entry level jobs we can get people in that have no experience, have less level of training. We've done that for the entire state of Florida. And so, what I love about our state college system is the probability of someone staying in the region when they went to a state college is extremely high. Probability that they stay in the state is even higher than that. So when you talk about return on investment in workforce training, our state colleges are delivering the highest bang for our buck. Not that we don't love the universities, we got great universities, but the probability of those kids leaving the state is substantially higher. The number one place weighted by money of people leaving Leon County, and that's Tallahassee if you don't know your counties. Number one place weighted by money is King County, Washington. It's FSU and FAMU kids leaving for Seattle, going to work for Microsoft, Boeing, all those companies, that are up there. That's our number one export. Our number one export in the state of Florida is college-educated kids. What kind of return do we get on our investment in their education as taxpayers if they leave this state? Some people are going to say zero. I'm going to say you're wrong. It's negative. We've subsidized their education. We've let them leave the state. What if we had even more economic development? What if, for a miracle, would happen and our state legislature would give our economic developers the tools they need to recruit more companies, keep those kids in here where we could get a return on our education? I would pass out if that actually happened. But I do make the case in front of them all the time. The average return on creating a new job at the state level for our targeted industries, those that we used to pay, incentives to keep in the state of Florida and expand in the state of Florida, the average return of state tax dollars every single year for an average target industry job is between $8,000 and $10,000 a year. Could we pay them a $3,000 tax credit a year from now for creating a job in the state of Florida? Man, that's good economics right there. That's good fiscal policy. Politics, for some reason, they come up with a different answer than I do. I don't like it. One of the things we've also done is, besides the statewide level, is we've done reports for 9 of Florida's metropolitan statistical areas. We've covered 17 million of Florida's 22 million, people. And look at the one on the top right there, Jacksonville Msa. Here's what the cover looks like. So for you guys, for this MSA, we've got even more detailed reports. We've got those same gaps. They're lined up with the state. It's healthcare, it's business and finance, it's education, it's those kind of things. But it goes all the way down and shows where we're oversupplied and where we're undersupplied. And that gives us all the signals of what we need to create more of and create less of here in the state of Florida. And before I go any further, trust me, I am not against leisure and hospitality industry. They're the biggest trainer of people with employability skills that we've got in the state of Florida. They train people for every single industry in this state. So when I say oversupplied, it's like, hey, we still need a supply. But we want to give those people that path. And what are those? Identify those skills so they can move. We've broken it down to 4 major industries here and talked about the most needed skill in each one of those 4 industries for this MSA. So you guys have all the information. There's a couple of them. You won't be able to read it from way back there in the back or maybe even in the front. But I encourage you to look at those reports. It's on the floridachamber.com website. It's Florida Chamber or flchamber.com Workforce Needs Study. Very clever name. all in one, all little letters, all that. If you have problems finding it, contact me through the Florida Scorecard or call up there at the office and say, hey, let me talk to that economist guy. There's only one full-time economist at any state chamber in the entire country, and that's me. So you could probably call some other state and ask for the economist, and they would know to send you to me. Now, the last slide I want to show you is, we've got our Future of Florida Forum. We're going to be talking about this and a lot of other stuff Wednesday and Thursday this week in Orlando. Tomorrow, right before this event, I'll be speaking at the Make More Manufacturing Summit. I'm part of the organization Florida Makes, and I'll be speaking at that. But then Wednesday and Thursday, 2 full days. You can still sign up and come down there, do it virtually, flchamber.com/F3. Now, I know we probably don't have much time left. I'm certainly willing to answer questions if we have a couple of minutes left. Yes, sir.
Can you speak to the role that pre-kindergarten plays in workforce development and what the Chamber Foundation's role is in advancing the learning system in Florida?
Excellent. The question is about pre-K and what role that plays in the education system and what we do at the Chamber. Now, remember, I work for the Chamber Foundation. I don't speak for the Chamber, but I do know what they're doing because I work with them. When you look at the literature, we have people like Vance Lupus, and those kind of folks. He's a representative who runs the, what's the group called? The Children's Council? Florida
Children's Campaign or the Children's Foundation?
Florida Children's Foundation, maybe it. I can't remember the exact. But we work with those folks all the time. When you look at the literature, the earlier the investment, the higher the payoff in general when you're talking about education. We still have to invest, especially helping those kids that are like in 3rd grade and not reading at grade level, helping them catch up, no doubt about it. If you can start them off, the earlier the better. And so that's what the Chamber Foundation, we have a Business Alliance for Early Learning that we run out of the Florida Chamber Foundation. That's part of that, advocating for more early learning. And but it's very, very clear when you're thinking about economic payoff. It's that kid that gets a really good start. And one of the things I talk about, I was talking about my Florida gap map. I showed that to my own county commission. So I'm going to give you a warning here. First of all, the great thing about my job is I get to say anything I want to. And so I'm up in front of my own county commission, and we pointed out a school, one of the county commissioners pointed out a school in Leon County that had a 29% reading score. So what that means is only 29% of those kids were reading at grade level or above. For you educators, that means level 3 or above. You'll know that. And so he piped up. He's a known flamethrower, by the way. So he piped up and said, listen, Mr. Parrish, I think what we ought to do is quit sending tax money to that school and quit taxing the parents that send their kids to that school. And I thought, man, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I said, you don't know if that kid ever got read to at home. You don't know if that kid was hungry. I said, it might be the miracle that they got 29% of the kids reading at grade level by 3rd grade, and that may be the best school you've got in this county. So that's my warning to you when you look at the Florida gap map. A low school score doesn't necessarily mean a bad school. Matter of fact, it probably doesn't at all. That's why I've overlaid the schools and their reading scores. It'll tell you the number of kids not reading at grade level for each one of those schools. And so what we've done at the Florida Chamber, and I'm going to ask you guys to do the same thing. All I'm asking of you, and I do this everywhere I go, take a school, track where you work to where you live. Maybe you have some affinity for some school that's along the way or close to your house. Help a kid learn how to read at 3rd grade. And hey, but don't wait till they're in 3rd grade to do it. Florida Chamber asks you to adopt a classroom. Help some kids learn how to read. That's long-term economic development. That is the most cost efficient, whether you start in, pre-K or wait till they're in kindergarten or first grade. That's the best investment you've got as far as the future. Remember, Florida runs on sales taxes. 79% of Florida's general revenue, and that's the money the legislature can spend on education and healthcare and all that stuff, comes from sales and use taxes. It's even if you don't like kids, it's an economic benefit to you, because the more they make, the more tax revenues we get, the less likely we'll ever have to institute a higher sales tax or an income tax or those kind of things. It's long-term economic development in everybody's interest, and we're the only people in the country that has made this kind of thing available for you to see. But back to your question, the earlier the better. Those investments reap the highest rewards. The more comfortable a kid gets in school, the earlier, the better off they are, the better off society is, the better off the school is, better off the community is. One last one. Can we take one? Okay, yes, sir. That's a great question, and if you didn't hear the question, it's basically, is it time to look at a different way of funding, to incentivize, our education system to be more in line with our workforce needs, if I can, extrapolate that just a little bit. And I'll say, absolutely it is. We should always look at that. We've got a system that we've had for years. I went to school, and it's, I'm sure, much better now than what it was. I went to a small town school, but I always say it this way, and I kid my friends. I say, listen, I said, I was educated in public school in Alabama. What's your excuse? And but back to that, I'm not going to get into that. That's very political. But yes, it is time to relook at that, and we should look at that. Those are public dollars that we're spending. They belong to the taxpayers, and I have no solution. I'm not a early education, K-12, and none of that. I'm not an expert of any type in that. But yeah, we should all look at that, because when you align incentives to outcomes, you typically get a better outcome, right? But good question. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely eye-opening and insightful presentation. We want today to be the start of this conversation on how we can better address our current talent needs and how we can work together to navigate talent shortages. We're planning to host our first annual Workforce Development Summit this time next year to continue this effort going forward, as it will be critical to our economic development efforts. I want to take these final minutes to sincerely thank you all for your financial support of the Clay County Economic Development Council. This partnership is truly remarkable. Our community is flourishing with folks such as yourselves, incredible servant leaders who work tirelessly day after day to make a measurable difference in the community. It is truly humbling to work in this community. Communities like ours are becoming increasingly rare, and I want to thank you for your perseverance and endurance. I'd also really like to thank our board of directors for their leadership and tireless support of this effort of economic development in Clay County. I'd like to give a huge thank you to Stephanie Plank of the Reinhold Corporation, Brittany Perkins of the Clay County Chamber of Commerce, and Sherry Davis of David King Attorney at Law for jumping in to help today. This event would not have happened without their assistance. And if you're interested in viewing this presentation again or sharing the information with your colleagues, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for the notification when this presentation is posted and available online. And again, we thank you all for joining us here today and for your support of economic growth and vitality in our community. We are adjourned.